This anime started as our main character is summoned to a new world by a goddess named Nolyn. Nolyn apologizes to our protagonist and explains that he was summoned by accident. She says that the otherworlder summoning spell randomly selects a group of chosen ones from a list. Our protagonist was excluded from this list, but somehow was still picked by the spell. This spell is dangerous enough to destroy the entire world, which is why it's forbidden. However, the nation activated it under reckless condition. Nolyn was infuriated when she heard about the activation, so she acted quickly to stop it. Unfortunately, she failed to halt the spell, which is why she brought our protagonist to this place temporarily. The real chosen ones made it all the way through to the Empire, but our protagonist realizes that he was just a mistake, and he just wants to go home. Unfortunately for him, that won't be possible. Nolyn reveals that she was so upset that she completely patched the forbidden spell, so it could never be used again. Not only is our protagonist stuck in this new world, Nolyn also reveals that he no longer has a body to return to. All he can do now is restart his new life in this new world. The problem is that he can't go to the Empire with the others because he isn't a real chosen one, and he would be treated poorly. Nolyn assures him that she will send them to a great nation instead, one that is similar to the ones found in fairy tales. Our protagonist Takumi is hesitant, but Nolyn promises to give him her blessing. Our protagonist learns that he will now be 17 years old instead of 40, like he was in his past life. Instead of being a salaryman, he now will be able to obtain one of several combat or production jobs. Takumi would like to live a peaceful life away from monsters, so he plans to choose a production job. Nolyn gently gives our boy some things to help him on his journey and sends him on his way. After crashing down to his new world, our protagonist discovers that he's no longer a hideous loser. He checks his stats to see that he really does have the goddess's blessing, but decides to keep it a secret to avoid any problems. Our hero then goes through testing some of his abilities and is delighted to find that he really is in a fantasy world. After flexing his powers, Takumi finds a tree branch. He uses his handy blacksmithing skill to turn it into a spear and acquires the woodworking skill for doing so. Takumi then uses his appraisal skill to see that there is a treasure trove of herbs nearby. After picking too many of them, he realizes that he doesn't have enough room in his bag. Luckily, he remembers that Nolyn gave him a special item box. She made it especially for him, and it provides infinite storage. Just then, some little girl begs Takumi for help, and Takumi prepares for battle. Our valiant warrior fears that Bugs Bunny might be carnivorous, but he must act quickly. The rabies-filled bunny attacks them, but Takumi quickly puts a hole in the monster. He earns the swordsmanship skill, but is shocked that a beginner like him could win his first battle. Takumi is now a warrior level 1, but he freaks out because he didn't want a combat job. The little brat explains that she's from a nearby village and happily agrees to take our protagonist there. She says that he should take the rabbit because they're delicious, so Takumi puts it in his storage. The kid is amazed by Takumi's skills, but he is shocked she shouldn't have been able to see his item box because he set it to be concealed. Meanwhile, at the Sidonia Empire, 3 students from Takumi's old world try to figure out what just happened to them. A woman explains that they are heroes, and they were summoned so they could use their powers to save this world. She introduces herself as the first empress of the Sidonia Empire named Elizabeth. While the boys are entranced by her weird-looking face, the girl named Akane receives the goddess's blessing in secret. A message tells her to trust her instincts, and Akane can immediately tell that Elizabeth cannot be trusted. Back with our protagonist, he is thanked by Molly's parents for saving her. Takumi is given permission to stay in the village, and he's ecstatic to hear that there's a vein of or nearby. This means that this place is heaven for craftsmen like Takumi and a blacksmith named Bobin. Unfortunately, this village doesn't have an inn, but Takumi is shocked when Bobin says that they can just build him a house. The villagers begin preparing for the build, and Takumi shocks everyone when he levels the ground with earth magic. Doing so also gives him the mana manipulation skill. Takumi loses a bunch of energy, but everyone is still amazed that he can use magic at all. The others then tell him not to worry because they can handle building the house from here. A while later, Takumi settles in his new home. He credits his woodworking, blacksmithing, and carpentry skills for allowing him to make some nice furniture. Takumi still doesn't like how the warrior job was selected for him, but he's relieved to change it into what he really wanted, the alchemist job. Takumi the alchemist then turns to a table with some iron or silver or in copper or that he mined earlier. He also has magic iron, or which is said to be imbued with mana. Takumi prepares to make them into ingots and remembers that it usually takes a huge furnace to accomplish. Luckily, this is a fantasy world, and Takumi can just use magic. He's delighted to finally able to do some alchemy, and he gets to work. He explains that alchemy is comprised of 5 techniques: decomposition, extraction, pulverization, synthesis, and recomposition. It's a strenuous process, but Takumi is excited by all the things he can make now. Later that night, Molly goes to visit her boy, but she is horrified to find that he's nearly a goner. After getting scolded and recovering, Takumi just goes right back to doing alchemy without taking any breaks. The only time he did even slow down is when he was being checked up on by the girls. Takumi then uses the ingots he made to create utensils and other useful tools. After all the work, his alchemist level skyrocketed to level 32. Things didn't stop there, as Takumi used his magic to help Boban create the finest weapon he has ever created. This sent Takumi's blacksmith job all the way to level 40. He then asked Molly's father for some potions so he could teach himself how to make them. Molly's father agreed as long as Takumi promised to sell the potions to him after he learned how to make them. Takumi now mixes the herbs like a diabolical madman, but notices that the potion he makes is different from the sample he was given. He can sense mana emitting from it as well, and wonders if it's because he used water magic instead of normal water. Moments later, we find Takumi eating some random plant, and things take a painful turn. Luckily, he has the heal spell to recover, and Takumi reveals that he ate the poisonous plant on purpose. It's the quickest way to gain resistance and raise his light magic skill. It's pretty tough on his body, but he finds relief in knowing that at least he can now use purification magic. The relief is short-lived, however, as a giant pig monster appears. Takumi's dagger and spear are useless against a powerful beast, and it sends him flying. Takumi is in a really bad spot as the monster prepares for another attack, so he uses several spells to defend himself. Unfortunately, they do nothing, and Takumi desperately tries to think of a solution. Just then, he panics as he discovers that another monster is trying to attack him from behind. Turns out that the spider is injured, but that doesn't stop it from protecting Takumi. Unfortunately, the little guy pays the price for distracting the monster, and Takumi is left to defend himself again. He freaks out as nothing has worked so far, but he remembers that he has one more thing to try. Takumi's last option is to try and use his alchemy. He uses decompose on the beast, and luckily it works, making our boy victorious. Takumi limps over to the injured spider to thank it and close its wounds. He prepares to leave, but is shocked when he earns the tame skill, and the spider becomes his pet. Takumi asks if the spider wants to join him on his adventure, and the little guy happily agrees. Takumi names it Maple and is stunned when it instantly evolves. When Takumi returns to the village, everyone is amazed to see that he defeated a giant boar. They are then horrified when they see that Takumi is being attacked by a spider, but he explains that he actually tamed it. What's most impressive is that insect monsters aren't even supposed to be tame-able. While everyone feasts on the boar, Molly's father tells Takumi that he should go to a big city to sell the leftover parts of the monster for lots of money. As the guys watch the celebration, they acknowledge that their little village has gotten much livelier since Takumi showed up. However, they are sure that Takumi is destined for great things, and he's not the kind of person to stay in a small village. Elsewhere, Nolyn is glad to see that Takumi is doing well with his adventure. Another goddess wonders what Nolyn is planning, because she granted Takumi a special body and even gave him her blessing. That isn't all, as it's revealed that Nolyn also sent Takumi one entire year into the past, before the Empire activated the summoning spell. Nolyn denies doing it for any particular reason, but she obviously sees something special in our protagonist. This was the end of episode 1. Subscribe to not miss the next part.